Hello, fictional. Welcome to the crossover What Ifs. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto becomes the Kyubi Predator? Part 1. Huge shout out to VFSNAKE for this story. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Naruto was panting heavily while carrying an unconscious Sasuke on his back as blood leaked from the side of his mouth, coughing heavily every few seconds due to the blood that flooded his lungs from the Chidori that the Uchiha had hit him with. It was close, but after changing the trajectory of the Rasengan at the last minute, it allowed the blonde to knock his opponent into the statue of Uchiha Madara and into involuntary nap land. Damn team. When we get back, I'm requesting you go on a diet because you're too damn heavy, said Naruto, as stumbled while nearing the gates and barely held the boy on his back to make it there. The instant Naruto made it into the gates, he saw the crowd of people awaiting for him, and the blonde thought that this time he had won the hearts of the village. After all the crap he put up with growing up, maybe they would see that he was not the monster they made the poor blonde out to be, and see that Uzumaki Naruto was not the Kyubi. Sadly, Naruto was more wrong than they were. Look what the demon did to the Uchiha. Kill him. Kill the demon to avenge the Uchiha. Called out one civilian while more cried out for the same thing and began to move to attack the boy while saving the Uchiha at the same time. Or they would have, if not for the barrier of sand that swarmed to protect the blonde, and Gaara now standing beside him looking very angry. Naruto-san, I will assist you in taking the Uchiha to the hospital and provide the needed protection from these idiots, said Gaara as he used his sand to take them to the hospital while the mob crying out for justice and followed the two demon vessels. Konoha Hospital sometime later. Tsunade looked down at the bandage-broken body of the blonde that lay on the medical bed in front of her as she saw the injuries the Uchiha gave the boy and the Chidori to the chest that filled the sand and turned Hokage with rage at their shared sensei. Who was she kidding? Hot Aki didn't teach Naruto crap aside from tree walking, and then there was the academy's teachers clearly disliking the boy enough to disrupt his learning. Something she would clearly change when this was over. At least the Gaki didn't die like Dan or Nawaki due to that damn necklace. Seems you are strong enough to break its curse, Naruto thought Tsunade as she left to take care of the traitor, but it made it clear that only Shizune and herself would look after Naruto. She didn't trust them any further than the necklace Naruto wore. If anything, she trusted the necklace more and the people in the village less if what Gaara told her was true. As she left Naruto to heal, Sakura was visiting the Uchiha at the exact same time to see the boy had a few cuts, bruises, and a few broken bones from slamming into that statue at high speed via Rasengan. Aside from that, Sasuke seemed fine and stable thanks to being heavily sedated, though the scowl on the Uchiha's face didn't seem to want to leave. Poor Sasuke. Look at all these injuries. This is all Naruto Baka's fault. Well, when I see him, I'm going to show him the meaning of pain and pound that Baka into paste, thought Sakura as she touched Sasuke's face affectionately and pulled her hand back when the door opened to reveal an angry Tsunade glaring daggers at her crush. So, here lies the almighty traitor Uchiha Sasuke and in all his proud spoiled glory. How pathetic, said Tsunade as she checked the boy over and ignored the pink-haired girl's glare. Hokage-sama. Please come quick. There is a mob at the hospital doors and they are all demanding the Uzumaki boy be killed, said a nurse who was one of the rare ones that didn't hate Naruto and saw the Sannin scowling even further. That does it. I have had it with these fools, said Tsunade as she walked past the nurse and to the front entrance of the hospital. Why couldn't they leave the poor boy alone? Secret council chamber sometime later. Do we have the fire daimyo's approval? Said Homura as he saw Danzo nod his head and produce the orders signed by the fire daimyo himself with a seal to prove it. Yes. The lies we told him have secured our actions to go completely unopposed in this matter, and soon after we will have the ultimate secret weapon capable of making us the superior village in all the elemental countries, said Danzo as he told his allies in this to set up a much needed council meeting with the Hokage and the clan heads to make sure they got what they needed. Soon, the village would be his and then all of the elemental countries would follow. 3 days later. Why have you called a meeting for? You realize I have important patients waiting for me at the hospital and Uchiha to keep in check for his traitorous actions, and let's not forget the very boy you all hate responsible for bringing him back to the leaf instead of into Orochimaru's boy-loving arms, said Tsunade as she saw them scowl at her for that. And almost instantly it went away with a sense of calmness in them, like they still had the upper hand in something. Yes. Speaking of that boy being responsible for some things, it has come to our attention by the fire daimyo himself that Uzumaki Naruto be banished immediately from the leaf right after he is cleared to leave the hospital, said Danzo as he was going right for the pre-verbal jugular and getting the boy as soon as possible. What? On what grounds is this even being allowed? said Tsunade, as she was given the scroll and read the contents within it before unleashing killer intent at them for the clear lies that were written in this thing over the reasons the boy should be banished. Fighting Leaf civilians. Fighting Leaf shinobi. Insubordination of Leaf shinobi of Chunin rank or higher. Inspiring with enemies of the Leaf. Failure to kill enemies of the Leaf. Damaging property within the Leaf. Disrespecting the authority of the Hokage. Okay, that last one Tsunade could see was partially true, but only in terms of calling her old sensei old man and for herself being called granny. But that was it. As you can see, the fire daimyo is less than pleased with just how Naruto is being left uncontrolled in the village and has seen fit to remove the boy from the Leaf entirely. But the man is merciful, as if you notice that the man has also decreed that if the blonde has shown some form of control over his life during his banishment, he will be allowed back into Konoha and reinstated as a shinobi of the Leaf, said Danzo, as he smirked at the way he manipulated this. And knew that soon after the boy was properly conditioned, he would write a new report for the feudal lord, telling of his monitoring of the demon brat's progress in being more disciplined. Soon after, Naruto would be unleashed on Tsunade, and by that time the old warhawk knew that the slug princess would not have the strength to fight the blonde. These are lies. Naruto has been fighting civilians. More like they've been fighting him. Arguing with Leaf shinobi. How about getting his so-called sensei to train him and get someone else less suited for it? I'm going to appeal his decision, said Tsunade, as she saw they were a little irked by this and hadn't expected her to put up a fight on the matter with the blonde. Still, appeals of the fire daimyo's decisions take weeks, months, and even years with so many events to block paperwork from being processed. It is your right to do so, Hokage-sama, but until then, the boy has to be banished, and if he is not out of the village shortly after he's recovered, will be considered an enemy of the Leaf before being executed, said Kaharu, as she saw Tsunade, looking ready to smash her head clean off her body, and resisted the urge to squeeze her hands together under the table. And what of Uchiha Sasuke? Don't tell me he is going to just get a slap on the wrist just because he's the last Uchiha within the village. Said Tsunade, who saw the two councils about to speak on that subject when Hiashi rose from his seat and glared at everyone to hold their tongues. No, Hokage-sama. Since Uchiha Sasuke is part of a clan, this falls under clan matters, and all clan matters are handled by clans of the Leaf when one does harm to others. The Uchiha's traitorous actions threatens the clans within Konoha, and he will judge by us and pay for his crimes by our ruling, said Hiashi, as he saw the two councils protest this and silenced them with his Byakugan pulsing from his eyes. Really? Then what is your decision regarding him if I may ask? Said Tsunade, as she saw many of them smirk, and it was Inuzuka Tsume rising this time. We the clan heads hereby remove Uchiha Sasuke of his clan rights, along with that of his clan, from having status in the Leaf, and demote him down to that of what he would most likely consider commoner status. In addition, the Uchiha estates are to be taken down to be paved way for new housing projects and help the village fill the hole that Uchiha Itachi made when killing all the former clan. Also, all funds within the Uchiha's bank accounts will be seized and divided up among the clan heads, with an equal portion going to all of us, said Tsume, as she felt the acts of the Uchiha were unforgivable, as her clan prided itself on loyalty, and such things need to be dealt with swiftly. This is not fair. Uchiha Sasuke was manipulated by that demon fox and Orochimaru, said a civilian councilman, as he saw Tsunade glaring at him and made the man quiver in fear. While I disagree with the first part of your statement, I won't deny that the curse seal my former teammate gave Sasuke did give the boy a hard push in the range of psychotic behavior, and even as we speak, Jiraiya is sealing it away in a more effective manner, with the boy's bloodline to follow, given the clan head's ruling in this matter, said Tsunade. As she saw the two councils protesting this and were silenced by her fist hitting the table. Damn. If I try to overrule Tsunade's decision by going to the fire daimyo now, she'll use it to appeal the decision regarding the Kyubi brat and challenge it with proof I do not have other than the words of few spiteful villagers, thought Danzo, as he knew that alone was not enough to keep the fire daimyo from changing his decision. And probing deeper into the hole he had dug for himself if caught. Though Danzo had no intention of getting caught. This meeting is now adjourned. I have to see my patients, and for one of them I have to break his heart knowing this village backstabbed him for his loyalty. You just better pray this doesn't come back to bite you all in the ass. Said Tsunade, as she left to carry out her duties, and one she was going to hate so very much. Hospital several days later. Hey Naruto. How does it feel to be the one to complete such a troublesome high-ranked mission? Said Shikamaru, as he came to see his good friend and winced inwardly at his bandaged condition. Not bad though the food tastes horrible. Why? Want to switch places? Said Naruto, as he saw Shikamaru wave his hands up defensively and answer with a no to the question. As much as I would like to be on a bed looking at a ceiling so I can picture clouds, I will pass due to the beating you got and just leave it at that, said Shikamaru as he saw the blonde laugh and then saw Naruto wincing in pain a bit. How did Sakura take the news? Is she happy? Said Naruto as he saw Shikamaru raise an eyebrow at the notice of him not using the chan suffix with the girl's name, and before he could respond the door to the room was kicked open, with the said girl looking very angry with him. You. How dare you do that to Sasuke-kun? I ask you to bring him back, Naruto Baka. Not crush his body into powder. Said Sakura as she was livid and shocked both boys in the room since Naruto was more injured than Sasuke was. I had to fight him, Sakura. If I didn't, he would have escaped a sound and gone straight to Orochimaru, said Naruto, who saw Sakura wasn't listening and looked like she was going to kill him. Shut up, Baka. Just shut up, you worthless Baka. I hate you. I hate everything about you. You're nothing. Always will be nothing. Do everybody a favor and just die. Said Sakura as she yelled the last part before beeping her hand back to slap him, but was stopped by Shikamaru using his shadow possession jutsu and stopped the limb from connecting. Are you crazy? Naruto is in worse shape than Sasuke because unlike your oh so precious Uchiha a few corners down, he held back and only used his skills to knock the traitor unconscious, said Shikamaru as he used his jutsu to pull Sakura back and now began to call for help. I don't care. Said Sakura as she tried to fight the shadow possession jutsu and Naruto trying to find a way to get away from her despite his injuries. Well, you should, said Gaara as he had heard the cries for help and after assisting the Hokage in scaring away the angry mob of Naruto haters, had come here to see the blonde. Only to find this happening. How fitting. A monster helping out another monster. I hope you two go to hell. Said Sakura as she was finally released from Shikamaru's jutsu and left while glaring at the blonde in the room before leaving its presence. This is why I keep telling people women are troublesome, but does anyone take me seriously or even believe me when I tell them that? No. Said Shikamaru as he sat down in a nearby chair and sighed heavily while looking at Naruto with a depressed face like someone had told him his parents died. You hate it when people call you that like I do. Why don't you strike back? Said Gaara as he saw Naruto look at him with sad blue eyes and it nearly made the newly appointed Kazekage want to flinch. And then what? I fight back, the people will think the seal is weakening and kill me if they don't have me locked up. Unlike you, Gaara, I don't have a shield and my seal was made to keep my demon's power under wraps, while yours was made to do the opposite, said Naruto as he didn't care that Shikamaru was in the room hearing this. And figured that the lazy Nara would figure it out sooner rather than later. Point taken. Get better and stronger, Naruto. I have a feeling that you will need to for the harsh upcoming trials ahead, said Gaara as he saw Naruto nod before leaving and left the curious Nara in the room with the blonde. I take it the demon he's referring to has 9 tails and looks like a fox. Said Shikamaru as he saw Naruto nod his head and sighed at this news. You've seen it when we were kids, Shikamaru. The glares, why the people want me dead, and even more so on my birthday. I've stared into the face of death so many times, I feel like the Shinigami is trying to get me and the fox in his belly like he is in some kind of a big hurry, said Naruto as he saw Shikamaru shiver and the blonde didn't blame him. Troublesome. Just when I thought things couldn't get more complicated. What's next? Said Shikamaru as he tuned to see the door opening again and this time saw Tsunade coming and looking very sad. I'm sorry, Naruto, but I've got some bad news. The councils with the support of the fire daimyo has issued you be banished from the leaf until further notice, said Tsunade as she saw Naruto's eyes widen and Shikamaru shot up out of his chair faster than any Nara in history. What? Why? The retrieval team succeeded in the mission to bring back Sasuke. How can you even banish a shinobi for succeeding in a mission like this? Said Shikamaru as he looked at Naruto, who had a look mixed with sadness, pain, and more importantly if not clearly anger. So they want me gone, huh? After all the years I put up with them, they kick me out and say get lost for doing the mission I was assigned. Well, I say fine. Beat them. Beat them all and their precious Uchiha. I hope they choke on that small beat the team's got shoved up their mouths, said Naruto as his anger at the leaf was rising and was ignoring the two people in room with their shocked expressions from his choice of words. Well, it wasn't a total loss. The clan heads decided to punish Sasuke rather than let the two councils do it, which would have been nothing, and took away Sasuke's status along with his clan from being a clan altogether. Any privileges he may have had before have been revoked, meaning he's now a simple commoner compared to the other clans, and I'm having Jiraiya seal up the curse seal, along with his bloodline forever, said Tsunade, as she Naruto grinned viciously at her and saw an almost sick joy in seeing Sasuke taken down like that. Good. Let's see this village do anything right without me around to do all the legwork now. said Naruto since he did all the work for Team 7, despite what Kakashi put in his reports to inflame the glory of the team's not-so-grand greatness, as their precious Uchiha no longer was able to use his precious bloodline and being unable to make little Uchiha bastard babies. "What are you going to tell the others?" said Tsunade, as she knew many of them would want answers, and others like Sakura wouldn't exactly lose a tear over him being gone. "Goodbye for one." "Other than that nothing," said Naruto, as he felt depressed again and saw Tsunade flinch at this. "Well, you've healed enough that even I have to clear you from the hospital and send you home to clear out," said Tsunade, as she knew the fox had healed the boy pretty good and should be back to full strength soon. "Great. The instant I leave, the people here will beat me up so badly I'll be back in this room, and then those bastards will have an excuse to punish me for not leaving right away," said Naruto, as he got out of bed and put on new clothes that Tsunade got for him that for once didn't have a lot of orange on it. She felt crimson and black was more fitting. "Has Kakashi come to see you?" said Tsunade, as she had not seen the man since Naruto was in the hospital and wondered where he was. "No. Probably by the memorial stone before getting ready to hover around his favorite student while pleading apology after apology for not training him better. You know he actually passed me over during the Chunin exams for Ibisu. Ibisu. That lowly closet pervert wanted to teach me chakra control for the exams. Why the hell do I even need it when I have too much chakra to even control in the first place? Even worse was the guy didn't even like me from the start, so all it did was make things worse," said Naruto, as he put on the black pants and the crimson shirt despite a few aching muscles still protesting. "Bastard," said Tsunade, as she was going to teach Kakashi a lesson and make him suffer for this. "Don't sweat it, granny. Besides, I've got friends outside of the village who will gladly take me in and help me with my training," said Naruto, as he smirked at her and saw the Hokage's eyes become softer at this. "You've got 2 days to leave, Naruto, but it's sad to say that one of them is today and you have already spent most of it here," said Tsunade, as she saw him nod and then smirk since he was going to have to give the village a going-away gift before leaving. "So all I've got is a day and a half. Plenty of time," said Naruto, as he made his way to the window and opened it before getting ready to leave. "You're not leaving the front way?" said Tsunade, as she saw him look back at her with a look that said, "You're joking, right? On it. Those fools are just waiting for me to come out the front door so they can put me back in here. Why should I give them any kind of satisfaction?" said Naruto, as he leaped out the window and into the village below to prepare the leaf for what was to come shortly after his absence. Naruto may have only a day and a half, but people tend to forget he is well versed in a single jutsu that can even the odds in any fight. The Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto's apartment. When Naruto arrived cautiously at his so-called home, as he saw that it had amazingly been untouched by the villagers, and when he entered saw Hot-Aki Kakashi now looking quite serious when the Jounin turned to face him. Naruto of course was on guard and got ready to substitute himself with one of his shadow clones already dispatched throughout the village, should his so-called sensei try anything. "Naruto, I need you to come with me to speak to the Hokage. I need you to convince her to stop Jiraiya-sama from sealing away Sasuke's Sharingan eyes," said Kakashi, as he saw Naruto look at him with angry stare and it confused the Jounin. "You want me to ask Granny to spare that team? After what he did to me? Sasuke put not one, but 2 chitteras through my chest, sensei, and I do believe you were the only one outside of the Uchiha clan to make one. Why the hell would I even help you keep him active when his mind is already off the reservation?" said Naruto, as he saw Kakashi's eyes widen and then narrow at him while balling his fists in anger. "Because he is your teammate, Naruto. I thought you were thick in the skull, but now I find out you're worse of a baka than I thought, and now I see you're lower than trash," said Kakashi, as he begins to walk out, but is stopped by a bone-crushing grip by Naruto now covered in aura of orange and slammed hard into the wall, before the blonde stared at him with anger written all over his face. "I am lower than trash. I am lower than trash. I saved your ass from Mamachi's abusa when Sasuke quivered up in a ball like baby. I saved Inari's family from Gato's thugs while you were getting your ass handed to you on the bridge. I inspired the people of Wave to fight for what was theirs. I stopped Subaku no Gaara from unleashing his demon, which was going to destroy the village, all the while Sasuke looked on in fear. Should I keep going on or should I keep burying you further in guilt? I have worked my hands to the bone for this village, while Sasuke gets all the credit and you train him while I get shafted through the whole deal. And for what? The team's Sharingan. Why? An old debt that needs to be repaid by your dear dead Uchiha of a friend who probably would have made a better sensei than you and wouldn't have played favorites. I'm not the one who is the trash here, Hot-Aki. You are," said Naruto before kneeing the shocked man right in the gut and made the Jounin fall to his knees, coughing through his mask before removing it to puke on the floor. "Bravo, kid. "The one good thing you've done with my power aside from beating that damn Uchiha brat with it," said Kyubi, as he had awakened from its slumber just in time to see its vessel do this while drawing on the demonic chakra. "Yeah, well, get used to it, Fox. I'm going to make the people of Konoha cry in their sleep and wailing like babies to have me back in the leaf to defend them," thought Naruto as he made some more clones to help gather his stuff and saw Kakashi looking up at him with his one wide eye. "What are you doing, Naruto?" said Kakashi as he saw the small group of Narutos begin packing things up and Original looking even angrier at him. "You don't know. Kami, you are so stupid, it's practically pathetic that you are so focused on the Uchiha, which has blinded you to the point that you are able to ignore me this much. Hell, the decision to have me banished from the leaf came first, and the Uchiha's punishment in having his bloodline sealed came second. Yet here you are to have me save the traitor from his punishment without even knowing, much less caring to find out about the very person, your own student you neglected, who brought him back in the first place, and even worse called lower than trash to my face," said Naruto as he laughed a hollow laugh before looking at his clones to see they had finished and left the room after the Original spit on the ground in front of Kakashi. Naruto was so angry with Kakashi and Kakashi was in such a daze that neither one noticed the shadow figure of a certain Hyuga girl, having heard the entire conversation via open window with a nearby tree, having a branch extending close by. "Naruto-kun is being banished, no," thought Hinata as she rushed off to the Hokage's office and would demand an explanation from her. Hinata had been happy that Naruto came back alive with Uchiha Sasuke, and the simple fact he came back alive at all was enough to make her heart leap with joy 1,000 times over. However, the joy left when Hinata saw the angry mob forming to attack Naruto before Gaara intervened and took the two boys to the hospital to be treated for their injuries. She didn't know why they acted like that towards Naruto, even when she was a child. Hinata saw only goodness in the boy's heart and wanting to become strong to protect everyone around him. Now here Hinata was, hearing how after all that had happened in such a short time, the boy she admired for long found inspiration and even an Indo to believe in was being kicked out of the village for succeeding in his mission. It didn't make sense in the girl's eyes, and the only one that could possibly even remotely help Hinata make sense of it was the Hokage herself. 2 days later. Naruto sighed heavily as he was now outside of the village, having said his goodbyes to those that matter. Lee had to be restrained from going ballistic as well as sedated with enough tranquilizer to put down an elephant and was now out on his own without any kind of protection against his enemies, within and without, wanting him dead. It was fine with Naruto as he could finally go out, find people to train him in different arts and get stronger so he could show those assholes what it means to kick out a hero of the leaf. "At least I've got you, Fox. You may be a demon, but if I die, then you die, and if you want to survive you better help me get stronger. You don't want the Shinigami to get the last laugh, do you?" thought Naruto as he leaped his way from tree to tree since he didn't trust the roads and felt more at home in the trees anyway. "Point taken, kid. Not to mention, I have a score of my own to settle, and you are going to help me make it happen," said Kyubi, but the last part was more to himself than to Naruto and was quite pleased with his vessel as of late. Such thoughts were ended when a volley of shuriken came to Naruto's left, which the blonde dodged by ducking behind a nearby tree and peeked out to see the direction the weapons were thrown. Narrowing his eyes, the young blonde saw the squad of Anbu with the kanji for root written on it, and the captain of this squad had his sword out. "Uzumaki Naruto, by the orders of Danzo, we are here to bring you to him for a secret position within his organization and turn you into a secret weapon for the good of the leaf," said the root captain as he waited for the blonde to make his decision and got ready to fight if Naruto decided to resist. "Really? Well, you can just tell that baka Danzo he can kiss the fattest part of my ramen, loving Kyubi sealed within ass," said Naruto as he had been readying an explosive tag during the man's talking and threw it in the direction of the root captain before taking off deeper into the trees. The tag went off before hitting the root captain, which was Naruto's intention from the start as it would cause the group to scatter and by the time they could form some way of regrouping, it would allow him to get farther away from his pursuers. The plan didn't last very long though, as the root Anbu coming after him were catching up quickly and were now in the process of attacking him with various jutsus once they saw a chance to aim them at his back. "We need a plan, kid. Your body is still not 100% and to fight them would only make things worse," said Kyubi as he saw his vessel was still in need of another full day in terms of healing and to do that required not being attacked by anyone the whole time. "Don't I know it? Damn Team Chidori is still causing some pain in my chest," thought Naruto as he dodged a fireball jutsu and then a water cannon jutsu that shattered a tree near him. "Earth style. Ground shifting jutsu," said the root captain as he moved from the trees and had dived to the ground to use the jutsu that uprooted the trees around Naruto. The blonde was thrown off his tree just moments after his feet had touched a branch, with the end result sending Naruto skidding until he landed near a cliff with the bottom looking bottomless and dark. Naruto saw it, as he saw the root shinobi all surrounding him now in a half-circle formation, with his choice of death being at the hands of them, or the fall from the cliff below. Fox. Quick question. If I fall from this cliff, is there a chance I'll survive and avoid being caught by these guys? Thought Naruto, as he saw Kyubi look at him with narrow eyes and looking quite unhappy right now. What kind of question is that? Granted, dying from falling off the cliff would be better than dying at their hands, but I will not have that even be considered an option and demand that you fight them to the end. Said Kyubi, as the fox was more than ready to give the blonde enough of its chakra to wipe them out and claim victory by killing every single one of those around them. Alright. Thought Naruto, as he quickly made shadow clones and began to engage the root shinobi around him. The battle, while difficult, seemed to be going slowly in Naruto's favor as he kept making shadow clones to overwhelm his opponents and was even killed a few of them after a bit of synchronizing with his clones to strike vital spots with kunai. The root captain was struck by the original VFSNAKE, which sent the man flying into fallen trees behind him, but even as that happened, the root shinobi had thrown an explosive tag at the ground where Naruto was and sent the blonde flying over the cliff after Naruto tried to get away. By this point, the Naruto shadow clones were dispersed by the explosion, and any hope of substituting with them was lost to the blonde and fell off the cliff while trying to use Kyubi's chakra to grab onto the wall. However, the Kyubi's chakra was too strong to grip onto anything, and his body was picking up speed that it was making things even more difficult. Then everything went dark for Naruto as he was swallowed up into the darkness below, and it was all the boy saw for some time. Konoha at the moment. The people had partied the instant word got out about Naruto's banishment, which was mere minutes after the blonde's body was out of the village's walls and cheering on about how they were free of the demon spawn. However, the day after the party, things started to go bad for everyone in the village that hated Naruto, and many were now weeping out in misery. When Naruto was getting ready to leave the leaf, his shadow clones had been hard at work, making sure that the people of Konoha did not enjoy his leaving, and their cries of joy would turn into cries of sorrow. The first thing he had his shadow clones do was do a little plumbing work in the various homes, business, and other buildings within the leaf to go off at a set time. As such, all natural waste would be either clogged, rerouted, and stored in places people wouldn't expect to have their fecal matter unleashed upon them. When people went to take showers, use sinks to wash hands, and to anything short of walking, they were hit with the very waste from the previous day of partying. That wasn't the end of it though, as Naruto wouldn't be Naruto if he didn't do more than that, and he did just that by backing up the sewer system throughout Konoha. With such high pressure of backed up plumbing, the ground underneath the village had exploded at several key street junctions and caused the natural waste of the village to spray everywhere. In short, Naruto had made the people in the village feel quite literally what he had felt figuratively his whole life by the people in the village and was regret ever treating him in that manner. Like shit. To further express his anger at the village, Naruto had his shadow clones plant various stink bombs mixed with hard-to-remove paint-based explosives in various buildings that would go off on a timer. When the bombs went off, the shops that kicked him out or had overcharged Naruto absurd prices for crappy quality equipment were ruined to the point of tearing the buildings down, though given the war the leaf was in would cause a lot of red tape since funding would be halted for such construction projects to gear the village up for war. In short, those business would either have to put up with the damage, not to mention the stink, or shut down their business for good. Not to mention that Naruto had gotten a hold of certain shops' bookkeeping records they had in their safes and placed them on Tsunade's desk to look at with a note telling her to compare them with the leaf's own overall financials. It helped when Naruto had looked at the books himself with Kyubi helping him to highlight certain portions of the book that looked off. Now said people, some were civilian council members, were in her office sweating like pigs, looking like children caught by their mother looking at a dirty magazine, and some were stammering words like children would when caught. Some couldn't even speak in clear sentences, but those that did mumbled or were speaking in gibberish to Tsunade's presence with Shizune beside her waiting for a response. They would have gotten a better one from Taunton if she were drunk. I've been going over these records of yours from the shops you run from a very good individual who brought this to my attention, and do you know what I find when I read them? You have been writing numbers that don't add up to what the leaf records hold, and I noticed a specific pattern in all of them. You've been selling poor quality goods at outrageous prices, and all to one person no longer in the village, responsible for making you feel quite literally in the shit you made him feel like figuratively. I don't know why the Sandaime let you get away with this, but knowing him, you kept it away from his old heart since it would have put a good deal of strain on his person, and for that I'm inclined not to charge you with treason. What I am charging you with, however, is extortion, fraud, corruption, and various other charges that land you quite a few sessions with a bicky with Anko soon following afterwards, before I throw you away in a prison surrounded by all sorts of people that hate the leaf. By the time you are let out, which is a really big if, you will either be leaving there in a body bag or wish to Kami you had, said Tsunade, as she saw the weak little people now before her sputtering, pleading, and begging that she reconsider such an action. As if they deserve mercy, thought Shizune, as she saw Tsunade narrowing her eyes at them and finally slam her fist down in anger at having enough of their false begging for forgiveness. Silence. I have had enough of your bitching to me when you don't deserve a single ounce of it. Anbu. Take these maggots out of my sight and tell Ibiki to go all out on them. Don't forget to tell Anko the same damn thing. Said Tsunade, as she saw the group crying out still for mercy and being led away by the Anbu. It's going to take a long time to clean up the mess Naruto left behind. People even now are cursing him, wishing him to die, and even worse is that when people tried to destroy his home, they set off some kind of tripwire that caused the apartment complex to blow up with debris scattering everywhere on everyone near it. A large group of people are in the hospital from the building debris mixed with shards of glass, and some have broken bones from having larger portions of rubble fall on them, said Shizune, as she saw her teacher now Hokage narrow her eyes dangerously in deep thought and then get up from her chair to walk towards the window to look at the populace below now suffering. Doesn't matter, Shizune. They can have all the doctors Naruto had at the hospital, who were always delayed, and give them piss-poor medication. By the time Naruto comes back, these people will be on their hands and knees begging the Gaki for forgiveness, said Tsunade, as she saw very few places were spared Naruto's wrath, and those were the homes of the ones that Naruto called friends. I hear Gaara is angry with us and is going to pull away from the alliance before telling the Wind Daimyo everything. No doubt every other place in the elemental countries will get wind of this and raise a figurative stink to this before complaining to the Fire Daimyo and letting this happen, said Shizune, as she saw Tsunade smirk at that. And knew that this would help speed up the appeals process in getting Naruto back in Konoha. Those Baka Council members think that they have everything figured out in removing Naruto from the leaf, but they forget that Naruto is a hero to people outside the village, and those people are very influential people. If they cut ties with Fire Country, then the Fire Daimyo will come here, asking us why so many people now hate him for authorizing Naruto's banishment and want answers that he's not going to like, said Tsunade, as she saw from her window one food store she knew had once sold rotten food to the blonde now covered in various forms of waste and making the food worthless to everyone. Speaking of which, some of them want you to send out an Anbu team to kill Naruto and claim him to be an enemy of Konoha for this, said Shizune, as she saw Tsunade frown at this and let out a huff before stomping over to her chair to sit down. The only team I would send would be the rookies, and only after the banishment has been removed by the Fire Daimyo, said Tsunade, as she went back to doing her work and wished the blonde the best of luck. Unknown location, time frame unknown. Naruto opened his eyes as consciousness finally came back to him and saw darkness all around him while pulling himself up from the ground. At first, the blonde thought he was in his mindscape again like that time he was pushed off that cliff by Jiraiya to activate the fox's power and wondered if he was brought here by the fox to get yelled at again. However, what Naruto soon realized was that he was in fact not in his mindscape, but rather semi-deep within the gaping hole at the bottom of the cliff he fell down and had landed on what felt to him like metal. Looking around while trying to adjust his eyes, Naruto looked around to see he was on a large metal object and after some stumbling found a way into the strange structure. Wow. This place is incredible. I've never seen anything like this before, thought Naruto as he saw the inside of structure and the weird designs of some strange culture. I don't believe it. I thought they were all gone or destroyed, said Kyubi as he saw what Naruto saw and recognized these markings along with what they were really in. You know something about this, Kyubi? Thought Naruto as he sensed the fox nod and was about to hear an explanation on the subject. Indeed. Long ago, before the elemental countries existed, there was a race of beings from beyond the stars who hunted only the most worthy of beings for sport and honor of their clans, with a ladder not unlike what you find in some shinobi villages today. They were known as Yautja. They used to come to this world to prey on human and any other species this world had to offer that they felt was worthy of hunting, said Kyubi as he saw weapons, masks, and other things this ship had to offer. But you thought they were all gone or destroyed. What did you mean by that? Thought Naruto as he felt there was more to it than that and was now looking at a device on the wall that deemed to have a glowing light inside of it that was too tempting to ignore. I meant here on this planet. When me and my kind first roamed the world, the Yautja had soon come to the realization this world was too much even for them. What's more, the human race had learned to use chakra and had altered the way things were done, since any Yautja caught would use a powerful bomb to blow themselves up. So they decided to quarantine the planet and listed it off limits for any future hunts due to the many threats the planet's more dangerous species was for them, said Kyubi as he saw Naruto nodding in understanding and found it good to know the boy was actually paying attention. There are so many things here that could give any shinobi a run for their money. Could I learn how to use this Kyubi? Thought Naruto, as he saw some of the items here were not so badly damaged by time like one would think. Possibly. This ship seems to have been the last one to be here before the quarantine was set up. Must have happened right after Kyubi was sealed and chakra was used by the Sage of the Six Paths. The weapons here are meant to last for a long time, even after being used in constant battles, so everything should be in top condition, said Kyubi, who saw Naruto nod and again look at the device on the wall before walking towards it with a strong desire to look in it. But will I be able to use it? Much less a fraction of it. Thought Naruto, as he looked into the hole of the device on the wall, which morphed into something else, and then grabbed his skull with metallic hands, while a chair rose from the ground underneath him that now forced the blonde to sit down, with both his hands now being restrained. What did you do, kid? Said Kyubi, as it saw what was happening and wondered what was about to happen to its vessel. Nothing, I swear. I don't suppose you would know what this thing is that's latched onto my face. Thought Naruto, as he felt something pierce his skin along the veins of his arm and felt something being injected into his body. Kyubi for its part was checking its own memory for what the boy was now about to be subjected to in terms of Yacha technology and going on the way Naruto was being held down along with the device attached to its vessel's face. It didn't take long, as Kyubi did indeed know what it was that Naruto was in and didn't know if this was good thing or a very bad thing. Kid, this is a Yacha initiation device. There came a time when certain humans and other intelligent creatures would be considered worthy of being part of the Yacha race. This device would inject certain compatible species with Yacha blood to make them part Yacha, give them enhanced speed, strength, and even seeing like they do, said Kyubi, as he already felt the alien blood mixing with Naruto's own, and the seal on its vessel was actually helping the compatibility, while the device on the blonde's face began downloading information into the boy's head. It hurts. It feels like I'm having a huge book the size of you being shoved right down my throat. Thought Naruto, as he couldn't shut his eyes due to the device, somehow prevented him from trying while images, the knowledge of various weapons used by the Yacha race against their prey, and the ability to understand the ancient alien writings language. This is going to be one wild life you've created for yourself, kid, said Kyubi, though it was more to himself than Naruto, while the blonde was in pain from the information being forced into his skull. Naruto would have agreed with the fox if he wasn't in so much pain. Konoha 3 years later. Tsunade sighed as she looked over reports she had gotten from various places, talking about a demon of sorts terrorizing the elemental countries. It killed anyone apparently within its line of sight, which was strange, because no one could even make out the actual appearance of this so-called demon, and all people had to go on were the remains of the victims left behind. Or rather what was left of the victims. Those that were killed were hung up in trees, and nearly all of them were quite literally skinned with their internal organs on the ground above them. Some of the others were not skinned but were missing their skulls, and in the 2 particular cases the skull along with the spinal cord was missing too. At first, many suspected it was the work of a shinobi village using terror tactics to show their strength, but no village would take credit for it, despite the 2 councils wanting Tsunade to say as such, and the killings continued without stopping. The Singnin were the first to be slain, as their blood was tested in the database of the shinobi villages were used to identify their remains, and it wasn't easy either. Iwa had lost well over 50 shinobi ranging from Chunin to Anbu, Kumo lost nearly that same number give or take a few shinobi, and the Leaf unfortunately suffered twice as much as theirs combined. Strangely enough, Suna lost the least during the last 3 years, and many suspected that the Kazekage was behind it. However, the Kazekage had lost a close confidant in Baki, who was his sensei during the Chunin exams 3 years ago, and was one of the few victims that had lost their skull with spinal column. It had saddened Gaara greatly, as his former sensei had been supporting him in being the man he should be for Suna, and the Kazekage had put his siblings in charge of who it was that killed their former sensei. Jiraiya had been using his spy network to find this demon, but it proved fruitless in its entirety, as some of his spies within the network were killed too, and it was clear that this thing didn't want to be found. Even Akatsuki was wary of this foe, as they had tried to find it and possibly recruit a figure into their organization to fill in Orochimaru's vacant spot after leaving. Even now, the bingo book stated this enigmatic enemy of the elemental countries as an S-class criminal, and to flee on side order while fighting back if only to escape being allowed. It was the 1 stage higher than the Yondaime received at the end of the last shinobi war ended, and the various descriptions one would have in seeing this creature was to look for the eyes that seemed to flash red if only for a moment. That was of course if the only survivor, just recently acquired by the Leaf, was speaking clearly, though from the way the man, a shinobi from Iwa of all places, acted was indeed the truth. The man had come to their doorstep looking like he had gone through a meat grinder, as he was bleeding heavily, was missing an arm, and screaming out for someone to save him. When the guards at the gate took the now former Iwa shinobi directly to the hospital, the man known in several circles as Iwa's Boulder Destroyer was seen by Tsunade for immediate medical treatment and soon after being stabilized told the woman everything about what it was that did this to his body. Flashback 3 days ago. Please don't send me out there again. Please for Kami's sake don't send me back there. Said I was once great Boulder Destroyer as he was in restraints out of fear he would hurt himself and was being properly sedated to prevent any kind of attempt. We won't. Just tell us who did this to you. Said Tsunade, as she didn't even think Ibiki or Anko even would be necessary to get the truth out the man since he seemed to be in fear of something that would strike him down on a simple lie. It was a demon. It was a demon who makes trophies of shinobi, said the former Iwa shinobi as he was crying now and seemed to be looking at the window every few minutes in fear like the very thing that had done this would come through it to get the rest of his body. Not again. Well, at least we can get some kind of description of this guy and work from that, thought Tsunade as she saw the man look out the window again and then at her with sweat dripping down his face in waves. Please don't send me out there. Those red eyes flashed are aimed at me and he wants to take my soul. Please. Said the man as he looked out the window again and he must have saw something before squirming madly to get free from his bed restraints. Easy. Easy. No one will get to you while you are here. I will have some of my very best Anbu stationed outside of your door so no one will get to you without them knowing, said Tsunade as she increased the man's sedative drip and waited for the former Iwa shinobi to fall asleep before leaving the room. You too. Be on your guard. He's the only one right now to survive an attack by this so-called demon and I need to have Inoichi run through his head for answers, said Tsunade as she saw her two Anbu guarding the room nodding their heads and knew this was not an assignment you can afford to be marked down on your record as a failure. Then flashback. Hopefully, we can nail this bastard to the wall and I can possibly use it to influence the fire daimyo to bring Naruto back to the leaf, said Tsunade to herself as she wished the blonde Gaki was here now and calling her granny. After word got out of Naruto's banishment, every person in every country the blonde had ever met was sending letters upon letters to her and the fire daimyo demanding a full explanation on why their hero was banished. The Hokage of course put the blame on the two councils and to a lesser extent the fire daimyo, though mentioned that the feudal lord did agree to it without either party letting her know until it had been signed. This caused the fire daimyo to get an increase in his mailbox with angry letters, speaking of cutting off trade relations and even war if they weren't given a solid legitimate reason for the blonde's banishment. So the fire daimyo did and sent the list the councils gave him about the reasons the boy was banished and hope it would satisfy all angry parties. Unfortunately, all it did was do the opposite and got him more mail indicating such allegations were wrong. So, an inquiry was made by the fire daimyo into these allegations to find out the real reason Naruto was banished, which the two councils tried to cover up and ordering the reason could not be spoke under a law made by the Sandaime that they clearly violated in secret under penalty of death. Tsunade, however, had stated that the reason could be told by Naruto or the current Hokage of the Leaf. Again, the two councils tried to stop her, but the fire daimyo wanted to hear an explanation now or the risk of war with another country was a very high possibility. So Tsunade told the fire daimyo about the Kyuubi's attack on the Leaf. Told him about Naruto being the fox's vessel thanks to the Yondaime with the man's dying wish to see the boy as a hero being denied. In short, Tsunade told him everything and the look on the man's face was not that of a happy man. When the fire daimyo asked why this wish was never honored, none of the councils, the clan heads, and even the Hokage herself could answer him directly in the eyes. Tsunade could clearly see the man was less than an inch away from summoning all his samurai to Konoha to begin the liquidation of the village and remove it from the map. It took all of Tsunade's patience and negotiation skills her late sensei had drilled into her skull as a child to persuade the fire daimyo to not destroy the village to appease those that were Naruto's allies outside for Fire Country. However, Fire Daimyo had decided to not remove the banishment on Naruto, but only because he felt that it would give the boy a chance to grow without the Leaf Village suffocating him and improve his skills and would remove it at a later time with a full pardon on all the past crimes the councils claimed he had done. As for the people of Konoha, the Fire Daimyo ordered that every single one who had hurt Naruto was to be punished in front of everyone and they were whipped ruthlessly for their actions. None were spared despite the pleas the people had given out during the whippings, which went on for well over a week and had their family assets taken away to give to Naruto upon his return if he wanted to return to the Leaf. Their children, like their parents, were poor, feeding out of garbage cans and doing just about anything they could to survive. As for the Uchiha, the councils had tried to get the Fire Daimyo to have Jiraiya unseal the boy's bloodline, but the man would not hear of it and ordered Sasuke be locked away in a cell within the village until a set time by the feudal lords himself. Many people in the Leaf were upset by this, but could do nothing less they invoke the wrath of an angry daimyo and an army of his samurai. Hokage-sama. Come quick. The man from Iwa is missing and his Anbu guards are dead. It's believed to be the demon the man was talking about earlier, said a Chunin as he came running in and report what was seen by two nurses walking down the hall. What? Scrambled the Anbu. Lock down the village right now, said Tsunade as she was not about to have this guy infiltrate her village and then leave right from under her nose. Konoha Hospital moments ago. The former Iwa shinobi, once known as the Boulder Destroyer, opened his eyes to find himself in a hospital before looking around to see the condition he was in and reflecting on what had happened during his time out in the field. It had been a simple routine B-ranked mission, which was to investigate the disappearance of another squad consisting of a 2 Chunin and 3 Jounin level shinobi. His squad had found nothing at first, but then a blood trail had been found and signs of a battle with the victor of it being unknown. When his team branched out, it was then they saw what happened to the other squad and would haunt him to the end of his days. The entire team had been skinned, internal organs on the ground just above the hanging corpses, and a look of horror on the bloody bodies that were once proud Iwa shinobi. And then my team got hit next. It was like the dead team's bodies was the bait and we fell for the trap it set for us, thought the former Iwa shinobi as he saw a good friend of his get skewered right through the gut by a pair of blades that went out that same friend's back. Turning his head towards the open window, the Boulder Destroyer saw the beautiful day shining in him and he smiled despite everything he had been through. However, the smile left him when the window's image seemed to become diluted and for a moment the former Iwa shinobi thought he was still too tired from the sedatives to see clearly. Wait a minute. The window was closed before he was sedated. So who opened the window? Then he heard a small growling sound and a flash of those same red eyes appeared for a second before those same pair of blades appeared. The demon who makes trophies of shinobi, said a voice in a distorted version of the man's own from when he spoke to Tsunade. Mercy. Please show mercy, said the man as the monitoring systems was going crazy and felt like he was about to have a heart attack. Before the figure could respond, the Anbu outside the room were hearing the sounds of the monitoring systems and rushed into the room to see, being that it scared the Iwa shinobi along with most of the elemental countries. Instantly, the Anbu drew weapons, but were struck down instantly when thunderous sound was heard, and 2 blasts from both shoulders with strange weapons shot off chakra at their heads. The creature turned its attention to the crippled man moving closer for the kill. By the time the nurses arrived to see the dead Anbu, the body of the Boulder Destroyer was gone, and only a small blood trail leading to the window indicated the means of the demon's escape. Just outside the Leaf present time. Do you see anything, Niji? Said Hinata into her radio piece as she was looking around with her Byakugan and saw nothing. Not in this area, Hinata-sama. Do be careful. If this thing is what Hokage-sama believes it to be, you put yourself in danger and I could not forgive myself if you died, said Niji, as he had been doing everything he could to be the loving cousin Hinata wanted him to be and helped her during the last 3 years to get stronger. Still, Niji could see at times that Hinata was sad at times and missed Naruto, that there occasions where the Hyuga branch member thought he heard crying from her room at night. The boy still remembered Hinata coming to see him in the hospital while he was recovering from the retrieval mission as her face was flowing with tears and kept on saying it's not fair. They kicked him out. They kicked him out of the Leaf. Repeatedly until Niji had to ask Hinata what she was talking about. So Hinata told Niji about seeing Tsunade for answers after overhearing Naruto telling Kakashi about his banishment from the Leaf and how the female fire shadow couldn't stop it from happening. Needless to say, if Niji wasn't injured like he was at the time, the Hyuga prodigy would have gone on a rampage and raised hell regardless if he was taken down by the cage bird seal. I'll be careful, Niji. I have to be if I'm to see Naruto-kun again, said Hinata, as she had heard from the Hokage about Naruto's banishment being lifted soon once this business was over, since any able Leaf shinobi could be recalled into service if it was believed that shinobi's skills could prove vital to the Leaf. Granted, it was all a smokescreen to get Naruto back, but any reason to have the blonde back in the Leaf was good enough for Hinata, excluding imprisonment or his execution of course, and even more so to have him see just how much she had improved. Hinata's thoughts on the matter ended when she saw movement to her right and went to investigate what her eyes detected. Niji, I think I see something. Just head to east from your current position to meet up, said Hinata as she leaped to another tree and then the next before she found her prey was nowhere to be found. I'm on my way, Hinata-sama. I'll be there in 5 minutes, said Niji as he was making his way to Hinata's location and hoped he wasn't too late to assist her. As she waited, Hinata looked around with her Byakugan and wondered if this demon was immune to the powers of her clan's bloodline. Hinata would have thought more on the subject, but a volley of kunai from the left came at her and the Hyuga heiress took out a kunai before deflecting them all. So the stories of your clan's bloodline are true. You saw my attack with your eyes and were able to deflect them with your kunai. Kumo will pay me handsomely for you and maybe a bonus considering how many shinobi they've lost in the past 3 years, said a figure appearing from the shadows to reveal none other than Mizuki in shinobi clothing. You're a traitor to the leaf and locked away by Naruto-kun. How did you escape? Said Hinata as she got into her gentle fist stance and saw the wicked grin on the man's face. You can thank my old master Orochimaru for that. Due to the invasion on the leaf years ago, he thinned out Konoha's forces and then this demon running around has made the ranks thinner than ever before. The guards tend to miss things and as a result allowed me to break out while letting some inmates around me get free too in order to cover my plan of escaping, said Mizuki as he saw the girl narrow her eyes at him and saw him take out a sword he had acquired from his old home. I won't let you win, said Hinata as she steadied herself and saw the man snarl at her with contempt in his eyes. We'll see if you can stop me. I hardly doubt it from what I remember of yours days at the academy with the Kyubi brat. Did the Hokage tell you? Tell you the damn demon of a fox was sealed inside of that blonde abomination after his banishment? I didn't think so, said Mizuki as he saw Hinata's shocked expression and moved in for the kill using the distraction. Hinata for her part recovered rather quickly and using her kunai to block the sword Mizuki had and combined it with the grace of her version of gentle fist. She kept him back for a time, but the sword was much sharper than her kunai, which broke soon at the beginning of their battle and barely avoided losing one of her arms in the process. Mizuki saw this and landed a kick to Hinata's stomach that sent the girl from the trees to the ground with a large thud that nearly sent her into unconsciousness. No. I can't fail here. If I do, everything I have done up until now will be pointless and I can't give up now, thought Hinata as she tried to get up but Mizuki came down and kicked her in the ribs right into a tree. I'm sure the Raikage wants you pure, but considering how desperate they are, I doubt they would mind if I gave them you and a child with a father being none other than me, said Mizuki as he saw the barely conscious girl try to fight, but her body just didn't have the strength from the fall, followed by a kick into the tree trunk behind her. Naruto-kun, I wish you were here. No matter what happens now my heart will always be yours, thought Hinata as she would not be afraid and looked defiantly into Mizuki's eyes while he approached her. Any last words you wish say while you still have your virginity, my soon-to-be Hyuga bitch? Said Mizuki as he had kept stalking her like a predator would its prey and looked at her with hungry eyes. I hope you die a painful and burn forever in the 9th level of hell, said Hinata as she saw him smirk at her and began to undo his clothing. Sorry bitch, but the only one here who's going to be in pain is Yoa, said Mizuki as he was struck from behind and had a bladed staff of some kind coming out of his stomach. Die. Said a deep voice from behind Mizuki as an invisible hand grabbed the man by the neck, lifted him up over its head and ripped the traitorous leaf shinobi in half that sprayed blood everywhere. For her part, Hinata was terrified of the sight of seeing someone die in such a way, even if it was Mizuki, and for the most part was glad he was dead. Or rather dying since the man was only ripped in half at the waist and still had his upper part still intact for the moment. You beeping monster. Don't you know who I am? I am a former subordinate of the great Orochimaru-sama. Do you know what that man is capable of? He will destroy you once he learns of this and make you beg for death, said Mizuki as he had blood coming out of his mouth and looking up at this new foe now revealed to him along with Hinata. The figure's response was driving the sharp tip of the blade from his staff into Mizuki's skull before twisting the blade and then pulling it out again with the staff retracting to a more smaller traveling form. Turning, the masked figure walked towards Hinata slowly like Mizuki did, but without the intentions that the now dead man had in mind and had stopped a single step from her downed form. Hey, are you going to kill me? Said Hinata as she made sure to remember every aspect of this person before her and saw him tilt his head in thought. He was taller than her by far, which she estimated put him over 6'5" going on 6'6" in terms of actual height, and his body was thick looking with muscle. His legs were wrapped in fishnet along with his body, as the other part of him was covered in metallic armor that Hinata had never seen before, and on his right arm was some kind of blade at the wrist. His face was a mystery to her, as it was masked with strange eye holes that you could not see through from the outside, but it was clear this person could from the other end, and saw that the sides of the mask had what almost looked like whisker marks on his mask, along with a single marking on the forehead of it. Before the figure could answer, she saw movement behind him, and Niji was about to strike using his version of gentle fist when the intended target that was the supposed demon leaped backward behind the Hyuga prodigy at the last minute. The masked being leaped into the trees using acrobatics that seemed almost inhuman for one of his size, as he looked at them to see Niji had quickly turned around, carefully maneuvering his body to be Hinata's shield, and readied himself to give his life if need be for her. You've grown. Both of you, said the figure before disappearing right in front of the two Hyuga, using the cloaking device on its wrist, and took off having retrieved what he wanted plus an expected bonus. Hinata-sama, are you alright? Said Niji, as he turned to face her after making sure the area was secured and sensed other members of the outside team coming their way. Yes, Niji. I am, and believe it or not, he saved me from him. Said Hinata, as she pointed to the corpse of Mizuki and then to Niji's shocked face. Did anything else happen before then? Said Niji, as he saw Hinata was going to need medical assistance soon and gently help her up. No. Mizuki attacked me. We fought and lost. He was about to do something very bad, but then the other one came and killed Mizuki in a vicious manner, said Hinata, as that was mostly true, with the exception of Mizuki tell her about Kyubi being sealed within Naruto, but her cousin didn't need to know that, and it wasn't her right to tell him nor anyone else for that matter. Niji nodded his head in understanding as they began walking back to the village with the other members of the team regrouping with them along the way, and all the while they were thinking the same thing. Just who the hell was this demon running around the elemental countries? Tsunade was thankful to see Hinata was back in Konoha safely, as she had heard about how the infamous demon who makes trophies out of shinobi had been in the young girl's presence for well over a minute and felt it was strange to hear how he, from what Hinata described of the Enigma's figure, saved Hinata from Mizuki. The traitor's death was brutal, but a death fit for someone of Mizuki's stature, considering his past actions against the Leaf and Naruto of all people. Thank you for giving this report to me right away, Niji. You too, Hinata. Because of you two, we now have an accurate description of this person and will make it very difficult for him to hide, said Tsunade, as she would have the description be written down in the bingo book with an artistic picture to help match the description. It was our pleasure, Hokage-sama, but there is still something bothering me and I wish to share it with you, said Hinata, as she saw Tsunade raise an eyebrow at her and then looked at Niji to see he wanted to hear this too. What exactly is bothering you, Hinata-sama? Said Niji, as he knew that whatever it was that bothered his cousin, it was possibly connected to this mission and this demon they had met. To be honest, Niji Nai-san, I'm not really sure, but when the demon killed Mizuki, he retreated after you appeared and before leaving mentioned how we had both grown. It was almost like he knew us from another lifetime, said Hinata, as she saw Tsunade raise an eyebrow at this and saw Niji deep in thought about that moment as well. I do not know of such a person in all our years growing up, Hinata-sama, said Niji, as he saw Hinata nodding her head in agreement and Tsunade seemed stumped by this too. Still, it is a possible clue to this guy's identity and look into that on your own time, since you two look like you could rest for a bit. Even if we didn't capture this guy, I'm glad that you both came back unharmed and possibly beat this guy in the long run, said Tsunade, as she saw them nod and left after she dismissed them. Even if we do get this guy in the long run, from what they told us, a lot more people are going to die before that happens, and each death is going to get worse, said Jiraiya, as he appeared on a window and saw Tsunade glaring at him now. Which is why I sent you out to find Naruto while training and protecting from such a threat. Said Tsunade, as she had nearly thrown her entire office quite literally out the window when Jiraiya told her that he couldn't find the blonde Gaki and aimed her wrath at him. I know, Tsunade-hime. I've tried finding Naruto. I did everything I can think of, but I am unable to find him and do what I should have done when he was growing up in the Leaf to make sure he got the protection he deserved, said Jiraiya, as he saw Tsunade flinch at that since they both ignored their godparent duties and were in reality cowards for it. Whatever the dumb Gaki is doing, I only hope that Naruto is getting stronger and just staying the hell away from this guy, said Tsunade, as she had collapsed back into her chair and looked out the window behind her to see the Hokage monument. The life this village had when Naruto was in it had long since left and it seemed to be so painfully hollow without him around. You and me both, Tsunade. You and me both, said Jiraiya, as he took off the same way he entered and decided to find something to do before heading out to find Naruto again. Ichiraku ramen stand 2 days later. I miss Naruto, said Choji, as he ate his ramen slowly and had been ever since Naruto had left, since there was no one around to compete with in terms of eating outside of his own clan. You and me both, Choji. I never thought I'd say this, but Naruto not being here is more troublesome than with him not, and I actually wish to see a prank that has his signature written all over it, said Shikamaru, as he had joined his friend in eating here and felt that Naruto not being here was like taking all clouds out of the sky. Hey guys, did you hear Hinata and Niji encountered the demon guy? Said Ino, as she came into the ramen stand and saw her teammates now look at her with surprise. They did. Are they all right? Said Shikamaru, as he knew the reputation this guy had and feared for his friend's lives. Yeah, they are. Thank Kami on that one, right? From what I'm told, Hinata had a run-in with Mizuki, who escaped from prison, and the demon guy interfered by killing Mizuki before he could do anything to Hinata, said Ino, as she had been telling anyone who would listen, and saw her friends breathing a sigh of relief, since Hinata being hurt if not worse, was not something they could handle right now. While I'm glad Hinata-sen is safe, it does beg the question of why this guy let her go, and Niji too for that matter, said Shikamaru, as he felt something was off about that and couldn't place his finger on it. Maybe he doesn't kill women. Who knows? Said Ino, as she sat down and ordered something for herself since she needed the energy for telling everyone what she knew. Doesn't kill women. That's it. Ino, you're a genius despite your dumb blonde ways, said Shikamaru as he ran off to check something out and then tell the Hokage if his finds were in fact accurate. Thanks Shika. Hey wait. Come back here Shikamaru and I'll show you a dumb blonde, said Ino as she was fuming at the insult and then realized she just insulted herself for saying that last part. Hokage Tower 3 days later. You're sure your findings are accurate on this data? Said Tsunade, as Shikamaru along with Shino were now before her going over what had been discovered and saw that this was indeed interesting. We went over our findings twice Hokage-sama. Apparently, this particular individual has yet to kill a single female shinobi during his hunts, if you wish to call them that, since not many women even become shinobi in shinobi villages and less in terms of leaving to become missing nin. If we send female shinobi after this demon guy, I think there is a good chance we can capture and if not that then at least kill him, said Shino, as he saw Tsunade consider this option and looking the data over that had been collected. I would hate to send any kind of shinobi team after this demon, much less a team of only female shinobi, but you may have a point in this regard and I'll select some people for this mission, said Tsunade, as she knew the shinobi council would be quite upset and so would the female variety too, since they were scared of this guy for what he does to his victims. Thank you Hokage-sama. On a much more different subject, has there been any word from Uzumaki Naruto and if he is returning anytime soon? Said Shino, as his teammate really missed the blonde and in a way so did the Aburami. I'm sorry Shino, but I can't bring Naruto back to the Leaf just yet and the Fire Daimyo has been swamped with his own duties as of late to even process the request to rescind the banishment order, said Tsunade, as she couldn't tell them that Naruto was not only banished but had been unreachable for the last 3 years and had no way to contact him. I understand Hokage-sama. Excuse me while I inform my teammates, said Shino, as he left to go inform Hinata of this information and left just Shikamaru in the room with the woman. You have more to say that you couldn't in front of Shino, said Tsunade, as she saw the Nara scratch his head and looking nervous about asking something. The habit Shikamaru picked up from his father before saying something that soon got him whacked in the back of the head with a frying pan by the woman who ruled both of them until the younger Nara got himself a wife to whip him. Yeah. I know it sounds strange, but there seems to be a pattern in regards to this guy's appearance that you haven't seen or quite possibly ignoring for a certain reason, said Shikamaru, as he saw Tsunade now narrowing her eyes at him. And the lazy Nara knew he was one word away from getting punched straight to his house before his mother sent him back after hearing he upset the female Hokage. And what kind of pattern is that Shikamaru? I would advise you to choose your words very carefully, said Tsunade, as she saw Shikamaru sweating heavily now and knew she was not going to like what he had to say. Troublesome. No matter what I say, you'll probably punch me out of this room so I will just come out and say it before you can. I think from what I've seen, this demon maybe Naruto, said Shikamaru, as he saw Tsunade's eyes widen at his words and then did exactly what he thought she would do. Punch him right out of the room. That stupid baka. Shikamaru has some nerve. Naruto is not this monster. Naruto would not have the heart to do what has been done to Konoha shinobi and that of other shinobi from other villages, thought Tsunade angrily as she sat down and tried to calm herself at the rage that those words had filled her being. Still, even with the sudden rage passing, the words had brought about an important point that Tsunade had in fact ignored possibly on a subconscious level, and the fact that she also didn't want to even accept to be true regardless if she saw it or not. The memory of Naruto before his banishment still lived on in her mind and Tsunade could not picture that boy filled with so much life be transformed into this thing that brutally destroys all that is in its path. A thing that skins people, taking their skulls and in some cases the spinal columns too. However, the doubt was beginning to grow in Tsunade's head as she realized the simple truth and that shortly after Naruto disappeared this monster of a man appears. Closing her eyes, Tsunade prayed to Kami that it wasn't true and called Shizune in to gather a specific number of female shinobi to her office for an assignment none of them were going to like. Rice Country Sound Village 4 days later. Orochimaru was upset, which since the loss of getting the Uchiha was nothing new and had been in an increasingly foul mood that even Kabuto had to be extra cautious when approaching the Sannin. Orochimaru had already gone through a new body 3 years ago and needed a new one soon with the results without a body being death. Orochimaru-sama, the body you need is ready and awaiting your soul to enter it, said Kabuto, as he knew that would make his master partially happy and yet angry all the same, since it wasn't the Uchiha's body. Good. I need to enter my new body now or else all will be lost, said Orochimaru, as he now made his way to the room specifically for such an occasion and extending his life another 3 years. What the snake Sannin saw when he got there, however, was not what Orochimaru was expecting, and neither was Kabuto, since the vessel chosen was No in the condition it was left in. The body, or rather what was left of it, was splattered all over the room and made Orochimaru furious at the sight of it all. This is bad. There are no other vessels in sound for Orochimaru-sama to take as his own now, thought Kabuto, who saw this, in his mind, horrible travesty, and then looked at an infuriated Orochimaru. You have some explaining to do, Kabuto, said Orochimaru, as he believed that this was Kabuto's way of betraying him in his moment of weakness and intended on killing the boy before such betrayal could be completed. Oh, Orochimaru-sama, I did not cause this carnage, said Kabuto, as he saw the snake Sannin was getting ready to unleash his anger on him and feared for his life. If you didn't, as you claim, Kabuto, then who did? Said Orochimaru, as he wanted some answers, and he wanted them now. And Orochimaru did get his answers when he sensed something behind him and leaped out of the way seconds before a blast of red chakra hit Kabuto in the chest. Rolling to the side, Orochimaru saw Kabuto was now on the ground dead, his wound in the chest was steaming with the intense heat the chakra had hit him with, the wound instant becoming cauterized, and had a faraway look that told the Sannin that even Kabuto couldn't believe this had happened to him. Orochimaru of the Sannin, you will make an excellent hunt and your head will be a nice trophy for my collection, said the unseen figure in the room, and it made the Sannin in the room narrow his eyes before looking at the door. I think not, thought Orochimaru, as he ran to the door, but was stopped when red lasers crisscrossed and blocked his path of leaving the room. Turning around, Orochimaru saw the now uncloaked figure ready for a fight with a dual spear-like weapon in hand and heard the growling sound this person was making. In his current condition, Orochimaru knew this person was not to be taken lightly and needed to be taught a lesson for killing his new vessel, along with Kabuto, to a certain extent. So deciding to go all out, the snake Sannin revealed to the masked figure his true form being a large albino snake, comprised of many much smaller snakes, after performing countless experiments on himself in the hunt for immortality. Seeing this, the masked figure extended his right hand's wrist blades and brought out his chakram that in the common tongue, if he was asked, would have meant smart disc with his other hand. Orochimaru let out an inhuman cry as bloodlust filled his being and he could tell this masked enemy was feeling it too. With deadly speed and precision, the Sannin struck with the intent in biting his prey complete in two and missed with the wall being eaten instead. Seeing his opportunity, the masked figure unleashed his chakram at Orochimaru and sliced the giant snake in half. However, as the disc bounced off a wall and back to him, the Sannin reattached his lower body back together. Seeing this, the masked hunter put away his chakram and readied his combi stick to use against the Sannin. Orochimaru extended his jaws wide as he charged forward, faked left before moving right, and after dodging the thrown spear weapon to wrap his body around the masked hunter. Grinning in apparent victory, the Sannin squeezed harder while trying to make the masked figure's head go pop. And laughed while doing it. The Sannin's victory, however, was cut a bit short when pain went through his skull and Orochimaru was struck in the head by the combi stick that the masked hunter had thrown away. It turns out that the combi stick was a henge, as well as his enemy being a shadow clone, and the real masked hunter had used the real combi stick to pierce the Sannin's skull. Orochimaru howled out in pain as he struggled to somehow try to get the weapon out of his skull, while the masked figure brought out his shuriken and threw it at the Sannin repeatedly, with the injuries leaving cuts before the combi stick got free. Swinging his tail at the masked figure, Orochimaru was pleased to see he had hit his target and once more wrapped his form around his prey. Acting quickly, the masked hunter took out a canister of blue solvent in his left hand and used his wrist blade to counter the Kusanagi sword that came out of Orochimaru's mouth. "Chew on this," said the masked hunter as he threw the canister of blue solvent into the Sannin's mouth and heard the glass breaking with the solvent now being swallowed down the monster snake's throat. Orochimaru cried out in pain as the solvent began destroying his body and left only a simple blood stain on the ground when it ran its course through his system. Still, it was against the masked hunter's beliefs to leave without some kind of trophy for such a hard-fought hunt and set out to go through Orochimaru's lair to find an item that could become a trophy. Not before aiming his plasma canister at Kabuto's head and blew it off to make sure the man was really dead. Konoha Hokage Tower 2 weeks later. Do you understand the mission I am giving you? If you want to back out of this mission, now is the time, and I won't blame you for doing so, said Tsunade, as she saw the group of women before her trained in the shinobi arts, and each one different than the last. Before her was Mitarashi Anko, Yuzuki Yugao, Yuhi Kurenai, Inyazuka Hana, and Hyuga Hinata, all being brought together for the single purpose of hunting down a common foe. Granted, Hinata was not one of the shinobi Tsunade wanted to use, but the Hyuga girl was the only one who could possibly stall the demon shinobi long enough for him to be taken down and unmasked before being interrogated for information. We understand the mission, Hokage-sama. We find, capture, and/or kill this guy before we find out who he is, said Anko, as she was interested in this guy and wondered if he didn't kill women because he was being chivalrous or because he thought women were weak. Correct. However, I don't need to remind you to be on your guard, since everyone this monster had faced have all met gruesome deaths, and one false move could be your end, said Tsunade, as she saw them nod, and all of them were prepared to go forward with this mission. When the group of young women left the Hokage's office, Shino was waiting for Hinata, and so was Kiba, since he didn't like two people he cared about going on a suicide mission that will get them skinned alive if not worse. Kiba-kun. Shino-kun. What are you doing here? Said Hinata, as she greeted her teammates and saw they were worried about her. We came to hope you would reconsider this mission. Many within the village would fall into depression were anything to happen to you, and if you were to die, then Naruto will never know that you, said Shino, as he stayed silent when Hinata blushed a little at that part, but at the same time stayed strong and not backing out of this mission, and had a look of determination on her face. I appreciated this from the both of you, but I must do this mission, and strangely enough I feel like I have to do it to find Naruto-kun. As if there is a part of myself deep in my very soul telling me that by going on this mission, I will see him again and tell him how I feel, said Hinata, as she wanted to talk to the blonde for so long, and confessed to him the feelings deep inside her heart that ached to be let out. While such a thing is highly improbable given that Naruto-san's unknown location at the present moment, there have been stranger things happening lately, and I do wish for such an event to happen. Please come back safe, Hinata-san, said Shino, as he bowed his head and left without another word. Yeah, what he said, Hinata-chan. And if you see Naruto Baka, tell him I want a rematch and I won't let a simple fart beat me, said Kiba as he hugged Hinata and left to speak with his sister about reconsider doing this mission. Somewhere in a forest of fire country 1 week later. The demon of shinobi, as he was so called in the shinobi world, leaped from tree to tree in an acrobatic fashion and stopped on a tree when he heard a sound not far from him. Looking down below, the hunter looked down to see the forms of two individuals walking side by side and talking friendly banter. One was clearly taller than the other as he wielded a sword currently strapped on his back, and the other more shorter one talked only at certain points in the conversation. They were Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame of the Akatsuki organization. The masked hunter grinned at this generous hunt before him, as it had been some time since he had a good hunt, and what better way to have a good one than with these two. They were strong, skilled, and would last much longer than the weaklings he normally found himself hunting from time to time. Hey Itachi, you sense him don't you? Said Kisame in a whisper to his partner while they looked straight ahead. Yes. He's above us. Be cautious, Kisame, there is a reason why this person is an S-class criminal and is feared by all the shinobi villages in the elemental countries, said Itachi in his usual calm voice, but there was a faint edge in it and it told Kisame to be prepared to draw his sword in an instant. Yeah, I know Itachi. What he does to his victims creeps me out, and that's saying really something when you consider who I am, said Kisame, as he felt that such a way to die was no way for a shinobi to meet his end, and it made a chill run down his spine. Before any more could be said, the figure in question had landed about 15 feet in front of them with a loud thud as he deactivated his cloaking device and stared at the two S-class missing nins, with his masked eyes flashing red for a second. For Kisame, he could see why Pain wanted this scary guy to join the Akatsuki organization, as he was no doubt very strong in a physical sense and not afraid to kill in a brutal fashion. As for Itachi, he was cautious of this figure because the mask would prevent him from using the standard powers of his Sharingan, and there was no record of the man's skills, making this enigma just that. An enigma. Greetings, demon of shinobi. We are members of the Akatsuki organization and wish to offer you membership on behalf of our leader. He recognizes your talents and wishes for you to put them to better use with our group. Do you accept? Said Itachi as he saw the figure beep his head to the right, then to the left, and heard a strange growling noise from the masked hunter. No, said the masked hunter as he became invisible again and brought out his wrist blades once he was out of their line of sight. Well, at least we can tell Pain-sama we tried, said Kisame as he brought out his sword while Itachi didn't move and let the enemy make the first move. The faint whirling sound got the young Uchiha's attention as he turned around to see a pair of multi-bladed discs spinning towards him and leaped away along with Kisame so the weapons would fly by. However, those were just a distraction as a sound near Kisame got the man's attention, and years of keeping his senses sharp from countless battles now saved him from losing his head after dodging a spear-like weapon thrown at his shark-like head. Itachi intervened with a fire jutsu, but the intended target had moved on already and was on the move for a better position in claiming his prey. Kisum readied his sword for another attack as he looked around for his now invisible prey and focused on using his other senses to find this guy. Hearing a thump sound behind him, Kisum quickly swung hard on his right side with his sword hitting tree bark as he missed whatever it was that had been standing there, and it was then he realized his mistake after it was too late. Kisum had been baited with his prey leaping from the spot now in front of him over the Akatsuki member's head and landed behind the man before finishing the swing. Now the figure was facing Kisum's exposed back, wrist blades extended to their maximum limit and stabbed the man from behind. Only for Kisum to turn into water. "Gotcha," said Kisum as he struck from above and sliced the man in half. The foregoing poof, which indicated the figure Kisum had slain was a shadow clone, and that shocked both members of Akatsuki. Before Kisum could react to this shocking information, the figure struck by launching a bolt of crimson chakra from his spot above the shark man that hit him directly in the chest and right through the heart with the body not turning into water. This meant that the Akatsuki member was indeed the real deal and was now dead with his killer turning towards the second half of this pairing. "I must flee and report to Pain-sama this turn of events," thought Itachi as he took off with Kisum's killer in pursuit of him and intending to add his life to follow Kisum's. Itachi had seen the chakra bolt that had hit Kisum, which felt like Kyuubi's chakra of all things, and confirmed it when using his Sharingan eyes on the attack. Only one person had Kyuubi's chakra running through his body, and that person was thought to have fallen off the face of the planet several years ago. His train of thought on the matter, however, stopped instantly when he dodged another pair of spinning multi-bladed discs and then stopped when the strange spear weapon hit a tree in front of him. Itachi then leaped back before drawing his own sword out in his right hand and a kunai in his left with his Sharingan now active. "Gotcha," said a warped version of Kisum's voice that made Itachi look up before his eyes widened and rolled to his right to avoid the large body mass that was his enemy. "The Matarasu," said Itachi as he used one of his Sharingan's high-level powers that would finish his foe for good and consume the hunter in the dark fire. Letting out a sigh of relief, Itachi winced at the blood leaking from his eyes as they now returned to their normal dark orbs and struggled to stay on his feet. "Hey Itachi," said a slightly lesser warped voice that resembled Kisum that made the Uchiha clan killer turn around and was greet a pair of wrist blades entering his stomach before lifting him up while he cried out in pain. "This cannot be happening," thought Itachi as he felt the blades leave his body and then instant death when the masked hunter brought out a sword to slice his head clean off. "2 hunts. 2 pairs worth of trophies," said the masked hunter as he walked with his prize and Itachi's ringed hand back to Kisum's corpse to collect on both body parts too. Something to signify just who had been killed at his hands like he did with Orochimaru's original ring-covered hand. Elsewhere 4 days later. "Were you able to track him from the spot Hinata met him?" said Anko as she saw Hana using her Inyazuka senses to track the scent of the masked hunter and had followed him so far to this spot. "Yeah. It's strange, but his scent is all over the place and yet it's fresh." "No more than a few minutes if not more," said Hana as they had been tracking this guy for some time and finally caught his scent after a supposed sighting. "Keep your guard up. If he is around here somewhere, then that means he knows that we are here and hunting him," said Yugao as she readied herself for battle and Hinata was once more trying to locate him with her Byakugan. "I won't die on this or any other mission. Not until I tell Naruto-kun how I feel," thought Hinata as she looked around for anything that would give away this foe's position and help her team further. Cautiously, the group of female shinobi moved forward and trying to follow whatever traces of the masked hunter. They knew he was near and they knew that he was watching them with the wrong move possibly being their last. "Brave of them. But foolish," said the dark voice as masked hunter's eyes flashed red in his cloaked form and watched them from the trees above until the moment was right to strike. "He's near. I sense bloodlust all around us," said Anko as she felt everyone stiffen and get ready for a fight while forming a defensive circle formation. Now was the moment for the masked hunter to strike. Leaping from his position in the tree, he acrobatically landed in the middle of the circle formation and attacked using taijutsu that seemed inhuman to perform given the size of the man. Anko tried using her hidden shadow snake jutsu on the man, but he tore them to pieces with his sword and hit the woman with a spin kick to the face that sent her flying into a nearby tree. Hana leaped on top of his back, tried to bite into the side of his neck while using her claws to dig into his skin, but was thrown off with one hand by his incredible strength and was unaffected by Kurenai's own attempts at casting a game jutsu on him. Which was why the shocked young woman was kneed in the bread biscuit before being elbowed in the back to further increase her body's impact with the ground. Izuki Yugao had the best of luck given her skills with a sword as she attacked his with Hate's old sword and began clashing with the masked hunter's own sword. Sparks flew from their swords connecting with Yugao, as she knew full well not to match her foe in terms of strength, for it was far greater than her own, and hoped her skills with a sword would be what she needed to take him down. She was wrong when the masked hunter feinted left, sweep kicked the Anbu woman off her feet, and took the sword right out of Yugao's hands to examine it, much to her horror. The sword. It once belonged to Gekko Hade, said the masked figure, as he studied the sword with an appraising eye and saw Yugao glaring at him. So? Said Yugao, as she was inwardly surprised by this and wondered how this man knew about her lover. I just find it strange you would try to kill me when in actuality I killed your lover's murderer, said the masked hunter, as he threw the blade into a tree where it pierced the trunk all the way to the hilt and saw Yugao's shocked face. And you expect me to show some kind of gratitude for that? Said Yugao, as she saw Hinata moving in behind the figure and seemed to be waiting for something to happen. Perhaps. Though for me, it was returning the favor to someone who actually knows the difference between a kunai and a scroll that holds it. He defended me when I was little and chose to honor a wish that no one else had the mind to do so themselves out of their own arrogance, said the masked hunter in a cryptic tone, but turned his head when he heard Hinata's gasp of understanding behind him and leaped behind the girl before knocking her out while catching the Hyuga girl in his arms. Hinata, said Kurenai as she got up from the ground and tried to rush the hunter with a kunai in hand in order to make him drop the girl to defend himself. However, the masked hunter leaped back into the thickness of the trees and the women on ground below could practically sense the smile on his face. It's been a long time since I smelled the scent lavender. I had nearly forgotten, said the masked hunter as let Hinata's scent fill his senses and then saw the others below now jumping up to intercept him. Give her back this instant, said Kurenai as she was not going to lose her student to this monster and was going to make him pay for the attempt. I will. In time, of course. She and I have much to catch up on, said the masked figure as he leaped away and shot a chakra bolt from his shoulder plasma canister at the tree's base, causing it to fall in the group's general direction to give him time to escape. Within moments, the two were gone and the group of female shinobi felt fear grip their hearts like never before. The most pure of them was just taken to Kami knows where by a demonic hunter that took skulls as trophies if Inoichi's beliefs were true about the missing heads. So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video guys, let me know in the comments section how was the story and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video, bye bye.